Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Edinburgh Napier University MBA webinar. My name is Helen Sferopoulos. I'm the admissions manager at Stafford Global, and joining me this evening all the way from the university is Dr. Catherine. Good evening to you, Dr. Catherine.
Good evening. Hi, everyone.
Okay, and good evening to everyone that has joined us. I can see, I've been looking in the background and I can see quite a few have attended from KSA, and I see the UAE, and I also see from Africa, which is fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Now, we are going to go through the presentation quite quickly with Dr. Catherine, and right at the end of the presentation you will have the opportunity to type out any questions that you may have for me or for Dr. Catherine, and we will do our utmost best to actually answer these questions. Now, I am going to be looking at these questions quite carefully because a lot of the questions are similar, if not identical. So I am going to be grouping them together, so please do listen out for the question and the answer. Right, so let's get started. Who is Stafford Global? Okay, well, Stafford Global was established in 1993, and we are a resource centre for 6 UK universities, one of which is Edinburgh Napier University. We offer a variety of programs ranging from certificates to diplomas, degrees, master's degrees, right through until doctorates. And the mere fact that you are joining us here this evening means that you have been in touch with one of our experienced academic consultants. And our role really is to ensure that you have chosen the correct program for your professional and your personal needs, and make sure that you get that very important unconditional offer from the university. We do offer some administrative support as well, so you really do have a holistic support from Stafford Global. I'm now going to hand you over to Dr. Catherine, who's going to take you through the program, and I will join you towards the end of the presentation. Over to you, Dr. Catherine.
Great, thank you. So hello everyone again, and I'm Catherine Olusanmi, and I'm the Deputy Program Leader for our MBA online at Edinburgh Napier. So just wanted to go through briefly, just to give you an overview of who we are as a university, and then we'll go into our MBA structure and things like assessments and expectations in terms of joining the program, in terms of what I'm going to go through today. So just as a starting point, we're based in Edinburgh as Edinburgh Napier, and at the moment we have several campuses over in Edinburgh, and we have our engineering campus, business management, which is where I'm based in the business school in Craiglockhart, and then we have our campus in Sighthill as well. So we do have our campus spread out in different parts of Edinburgh. So Edinburgh itself is a great location. We are one of the key universities in Edinburgh, and as is saying there, we are Edinburgh has been voted consecutively for 3 years as the best place to live, but also it's a great place in terms of opportunities for work. Certainly a lot of our students who've come in have settled and gotten work opportunities in Edinburgh. In terms of the city as well, it is known for top 100 tech startup, and say compared to any other city in the UK, particularly in line with London. And we're also known in terms of our arts, and we have a big arts festival actually in August period, which does get a lot of tourists coming in at that time of the year. So the city itself is quite vibrant. It's a great place to live and work, and so we're definitely very proud of where we are in Edinburgh. So in terms of our profile, we have over about almost 20,000 students who have come from 130 countries. So we are quite diverse in terms of our approach, in terms of our outlook, and that's reflected in our student profile. And also it's reflected in our teaching because we do have that international perspective, and we do enjoy kind of getting perspective from different parts of the world, and teaching that definitely enriches our experience as well as a lecturer. In terms of campuses, we have 13,500, studying on our campus in Edinburgh, and we do have about 6,000 studying our partner universities worldwide and online including the current MBA program. Other partners we have are in Singapore, Hong Kong, and Macau, and we are actually well known as the top provider, UK top provider in Hong Kong. So we do have that international base in terms of our outlook, and as said earlier, it's also reflected in terms of how we teach and kind of our approach, recognizing that diversity of students from different parts of the world. And it's nice to see that there's several people that have joined us today as well from different parts. So in terms of our university as well, just to give some info in terms of some of the things that help us to stand out and what we're doing well that we're proud of. So we are considered number 1 million plus modern university for business management. We're also top 5 in UK modern university for accounting and finance, top 10 UK modern university for marketing, top 15 UK Modern University for Business Studies. So that kind of gives an array of areas which a lot of you will be focusing on for your MBA as well when you do join us. So it just gives you perspective in terms of that we do have expertise and we're doing well in those different areas, and certainly area that we're proud of. And so just to give a testament in terms of the quality of education that you'll be getting by joining us, because we do have recognition in those different areas. We also have 5 quality stars for teaching and employability and internalization. And so again, we're recognizing that it's not just about focusing on teaching, but we're also recognizing that employability. And we implement that in terms of the different tools of our teaching process, but also how we approach our teaching. So certainly, if you do join the MBA program as well, you will find that we have different events which is focusing on employability. So at different levels, we do recognize that. And it's catered to different levels. We know that some people are doing the MBA, already have work experience, but it's kind of recognizing then what can advance your employability as well. So we have a dedicated team within our career service, Student Futures team, and they host different events across the duration while you go through your MBA, focusing on different things relating to employability, and that's targeted for different levels as well. So again, recognizing that internalization, as stated earlier, in terms of our approach and our teaching. Top 10 in terms of UK for graduate employability, HR Excellence in Research Award, so recognizing also that we do prioritize research, which we as academics consider that as important. It's feeding back into what we do, and it's all based on evidence. We had the 84% in terms of student satisfaction, which is something that we're hopefully working towards and hoping to develop as we go on in every year. We also currently have our AACSB accreditation, which has been, we've gone through that process and that's been approved. So that's something that we're also very proud of at the moment. So you can kind of see in terms of an overview of some of the things that we've been working on and doing well, and hopefully should give an indication of the type and value of support and quality of education that you're going to be getting by joining us. So in terms of the MBA program itself, so just gives you a structure of what your your modules will be like. So you will have at the basic level, everybody doing the MBA will have to do 4 core modules, which is your management and organizational change, leadership and strategic decision making, marketing and building high performing organization, global business economics and finance. And then the ones that are highlighted in blue are the two separate modules that you'll be taking, depending on where you decide to specialize. So if you go with the MBA general route, the two additional modules that you'd be taking in line with the core ones are the ones highlighted in blue. However, if you do decide to maybe say specialize in MBA in human resource management, those two will be swapped out for human resource management specific topics, and we'll look at that in the next slide. And once you've completed these 6 modules, which are made up of 20 credits, then you would then go on to do the data analysis for business decision making, and then your final MBA project. And so just to give an overview of these key modules then, so as a starting point, within the core module, you have your management and organizational change. And this is something that caters to everyone because obviously we know that change is a constant, and that's something that regardless of which industry, which area that you're based in, that's something that you'd need to have some sort of knowledge about and in terms of managing that. So that's kind of some of the core focus on that, recognizing that that's something that is very relevant to everyone, and certainly then a key core module within the MBA program as well. We have leading strategic decision making, which again is this is what we would consider a combination of 2 modules that's been merged together. So this is looking at leadership, and it's also looking at strategy and looking at both, and we can kind of see how at that level leading and strategic decision is a key thing that we would prioritize currently, being able to adapt to what's going on in the market. We also have marketing and building high performing organizations. And again, this is another combination module. So this is looking at what makes a high performing organization, and then how do we market that, and that's a key part of any organizations in terms of being able to achieve competitive advantage. And then we have the global business economics and finance module, which is looking at you will be looking at both micro and macroeconomics there. So it will be focusing on, say, the economics of a whole, a dynamic of a whole nation. And also you'd be looking at the macroeconomic aspect as well. And also looking at things like the financial health of an organization. What are some of the things that we need to prioritize? How do we interpret these figures, and how does that contribute to decision making and things like that? And then obviously if you do go with that general route, you'd be looking at managing innovation and looking at contemporary issues and strategic management. So you would need to complete the 6 modules before you can then go on to the data analysis for business decision making, and then before going on to your MBA project. So the data analysis for business decision making is basically gives you some sort of information on analyzing data, because on your MBA project, you'll be collecting data, you'll be doing some sort of a mini research on a particular area that you want to focus on, which is linked to your specialist area. So like I said earlier, if you wanted to go with a general route, you'd be focusing on something that is specific to that particular area, which would be something around managing innovation and strategic management. If you wanted to look at a specialist route in HRM, for instance, your final project will be based on something related to human resource management. And the benefit of that then, it means that by the time you do the 2 specialist modules and you do your MBA project, it means that you are quite specialized within that particular area. So, and you can see with the project, you get that 40 credit, and with the 2 additional modules, that will be another 40 credits. So at 80 credits, that is quite specialized in that area. And with the data analysis for business decision making, is just to give you some sort of knowledge in terms of how do you analyze the data that you've collected. And again, we recognize that there are different people joining us on the program, and not everyone's done some sort of research before. So it's just a starter pack to help you to better understand what does it involve in terms of how you can collect your data. Are you looking at secondary data? Are you looking at more primary data? And how do you analyze that and see the patterns so that you can make sense of it and report on that? So that is kind of the benefit and basis of that. And within the assessment for that as well, you will be analyzing, some sort of data that you've been given to really give you a test of what you'll be doing on your project, which I think sits really well and sets you up nicely before you then go on to your MBA project. So the benefit of the MBA project is because obviously a lot of people have work experience, or are working or looking to move on to a particular area, for instance. So you can focus that project on maybe something that is particular to your organization or a particular problem within that area that you're interested in and you want to get more information on. So the project is a really good chance for you to demonstrate problem solving, look at a particular area, report back, which can really be credible as well for you. So that gives you the basic structure in terms of what our program looks like and how the different areas that you'll be focusing on. We also have the exit points there, and the benefit of this is we recognize that, as much as we would like everyone to finish the whole program and get their MBA with 180 credits, we recognize that, there could be changes and issues along the way, or perhaps you change your mind and decide that you want to do less. So there are different exit points, and that's something that just to make you aware as well. So if you go through the whole process and finish the MBA project, you would come out with a total of 180 credits, and that will be what makes up the MBA effectively. However, if you say decide to just do your 4 core modules and the specialist ones, then you would come out with 120 credits, and that will give you a postgraduate diploma. And if you do decide to maybe do less and focus on 3 areas, for instance, then that will give you a postgraduate certificate. So if you focus on individual modules as well, you will still get some sort of award as well. So again, we would, it would still look good if you say maybe spoke to, wanted to go into a particular area with your employer, and the justification is that you have taken a module which is looking at management and organizational change, for instance, and that will equip you to be able to move on or progress to that role. So there will be some sort of recognition of that you have taken a module at MBA level as well. So that just gives you a brief overview of the different exit points and also what's available if you do choose to come out at those different points. In terms of the MBA specialized routes as well, so we have different specialist areas, MBA banking, criminal justice, and so this is what I mean by the 2 specific areas. So for example, if you decide that you want to do MBA banking, then what we would do is you would focus on those 4 core modules, swap out this 2, and you'd be doing global finance and financial markets in institutions and banking, for instance, and so on if it was MBA in finance, and including your data analysis for business decision making and MBA projects. And your final project will always be something related to that area. So again, if it's in banking, then your final project will be something related to that area, and you can kind of see that enhances that specialization for you within that area. So in terms of the actual program itself, it's 100% online. So you're not required to come on campus or travel or anything like that. Everything will be based online. We say it's asynchronous, and what we mean by that is, I would say it is 90% asynchronous. And what we mean by that is it's most of the time, it wouldn't be the case that your tutor or the students will be in class at the same time as you would have on campus, for instance. And I say 90% because every MBA program, we have a live session every week. And the benefit of the live session is to get a chance to discuss the different topic areas that you're looking at and engage with other students. However, this is voluntary. It's not something that you have to attend, but they are recorded sessions as well. So if say you wanted to attend and you're unable to attend for work commitments or whatever other reason might be, the recordings will be there and available for you to look at a later date. So again, it's not the case that you would be missing out on anything in that way. The program is very flexible, and again, because of the structure of how it is, all the materials that you're going to use, say for a term, will be all available at one time, and it would be a chance then for you to go through it at your own pace, at wherever you're based, and in your own time as well. And again, with the live sessions, that's something that you can look into later on if you're not able to attend a particular session as well. So very, very flexible, and it's been designed to suit your personal and professional demands and commitments. You're going to be given high quality materials. So again, as much as it's largely self-directed, because all the materials will be there for you, the reading, the different topics, the different assessments that you can work through online as well. There will also be different opportunities fed into that for you to engage with other students as well. So a typical example is that live session, which makes it quite interactive and engaging as well. But also you have different discussion forums that are fed into the different teaching that you engage in as well. Again, this is not something that is compulsory. It's just a chance for you to, engage with other students and discuss maybe topic areas that are focused on the areas that you're looking at. So as much as it's self-directed, it's also built in to be quite engaging and interactive for you because of the different learning modes and methods that is involved in that. We talk about it being a truly international student experience, and again, as you've heard at the beginning, there's different people that joined in today, and I can definitely say that we tend to have students across different parts of the world. Hong Kong, Singapore, from America, from North America, South America, from the Caribbean, like just Africa, a mixed bag, Middle East. So really quite a truly international experience for you. And there's various opportunities for you to, network and get involved, engaging with other people as well. So in terms of the intakes, we have 3 intakes. We have your January, we have your May intake, as well as the September intake as well. So just to give you an overview of the assessment as well, so because I'm aware that some people will want to know, how do we plan that around our different demands? So assessment structure then. So we provide you with both formative feedback and summative assessment. So with the formative feedback is basically feedback that you get, as ongoing. And that can be in the form of the live sessions that I talked about earlier. It could be through the discussion forum as well, because again, you can post questions on there. You can put discussion topics there. Your module tutor will most likely put some sort of discussion topic on there just to get people to engage from different parts. So, and you can also ask questions as well, send the emails or anything that you're not sure about. So there's a lot of opportunities to get some sort of ongoing feedback. And you do have an assessment which is towards at the end of your learning as well, which is usually in about week 13. But different modules are built in different ways, but the general 2 ways that you will have your assessment is, so some modules will have a assessment structure where after each topic area, for instance, there would be an end of topic test or end of unit progress test, as we call it. And the unit is basically, a topic area that you've looked at. So that's something that you have to do after going through that unit going through it yourself, and it's a way for you to be able to judge your understanding and how well you've done on that. And so for those modules, there will be those end of unit tests will account for 10% of your overall grade, and then there will be a final assessment at the end of the term, which is about week 13, which will account for 90%. Some modules will have a different structure where you'd have some sort of assessment halfway through the term, and then another one towards the end of the term, and that would be 50% halfway through, and the one at the end will be 50% as well. So those are the two key structures in terms of the way the assessment will go. But all of that again will be, something that will be done online, and we don't have any exams in terms of our MBA as well. So it will be in the form of some sort of a report or some sort of a case study that you have to look at, but there are no exams basically. Okay. In terms of for Napier ourselves, we have different ways that we ensure quality of the work that is done. So again, we have our own quality procedure, which is, related to things like plagiarism and making sure that that any work that is submitted is authentic. But again, that's something that you would be advised earlier on. And we don't tend to get a lot of these issues because we have different workshops during the term which focuses on that and making sure that everything you produce is original and up to standard as well. So this gives you a brief idea of the structure of what the teaching would be like. So if you and the length of time that it can take for you to complete your MBA. So with this then, you can do 2 modules per semester, or you can do 1, but we would advise you, we wouldn't actually allow you taking more than 2 per semester. So if you do take 2 per semester as structured here, and you started maybe in January, then it would mean that the January to April period you've done 2, by May to August you've done 4, by September to December you've done completed the key 6 ones, and then you have 1 term to complete your the skills aspect, and then the dissertation project, you'd be given 2 terms to complete that. So that just gives you a rough idea of how long that would take. But if you do decide that you want to take 1 term, that's something that is feasible as well. But we would be advising you to take your time as much as possible to ensure that the work that you're delivering is what you're comfortable with. In terms of the weeks, how it's structured, in the week 1, you'd get your initial introduction into the course, and on our Moodle page, which is our virtual learning environment, and you get some induction, advice in terms of the structure, what each week will be focusing on in terms of the live sessions and so on. And then between your week 2 and 12, you'll be going through the module study, and then in week 13, as I said, you get your submission of your final assessment there. So that about covers the different structure of the courses that you'll be doing, as well as the time and length in terms of how you can space out your studying as well. In terms of the entry requirements then, so the default entry requirement is honors degree of 2.2 or above plus 2 years relevant work experience. So obviously this is the default in terms of what we would look for, but we recognize that again that we have people from different parts of the world, and it's not going to be the same as maybe the structure that we have. So we would look at, it's not to say that if you don't have this then you wouldn't be considered. So if you have a different maybe qualification or something alternative, then that's something that we would look at and make a decision based on, on the individual's case as well. So this is the default, but obviously there are opportunities for us to review individual case as well. So for example, if say you don't have that particular degree that we're looking for, the 2-2, but you have maybe a significant amount of work experience, then we would look at, what have you done in terms of the work experience, what are the outcomes, and match it with the learning outcomes that we are looking at on the modules that we're focusing on as well, and go on those bases then to be able to make a decision in terms of entry requirements. If your English is a key part in terms of what we look for, because as we said, you will be doing some sort of project, you'll be analyzing, reporting on what you've looked at in terms of your research. So it's a key requirement. So if your first language is not English, you need to provide some sort of evidence demonstrating that you can conduct yourself in English. So perhaps a previous degree that's been done in English and the results for that. But also, I know the Stafford will be able to provide you with some advice in terms of ways that you can show your English language qualification as well. So you please speak to them in regards to that. So I mean, that gives you a rough idea, but like I said, that's just a default. There are other ways in which we can look at your qualification and make a decision. We can also look at, if you've done some courses that are similar to what we have, and we would advise you to make sure to get the learning outcomes for those, so that we can compare it to what we have, so we can make a decisions in terms of exemptions, for instance. But again, that's something that Stafford would be able to provide advice for. So they would be your first point of contact, maybe look at that, and they would get in touch with us, and we would review that a little closely as well and go from there. So there's different opportunities, is what I'm saying, where it's not the case where if you don't have that, that's the end of that. So finally then we come to graduation. So there is a opportunity to come to Edinburgh to do your graduation, and especially now post-COVID, which is really great, because a lot of people who wanted to come during the COVID, would have loved to come during the COVID time, missed that opportunity. So you can come to Edinburgh Napier. So if you just let us know beforehand, so that we can, plan ahead, give you advice in terms of where you can stay and so on. But if you're not able to make that, your certificate will be sent to you as well, so you're not missing out, say if that's the case. So different opportunities in terms of graduation. It's always nice to see when people have been studying online and they've actually come in person to come and graduate and see the campus, so, and Edinburgh as well. So by all means, you're all welcome to come and do that. Yeah, so I think that's kind of what I wanted to cover in terms of our program. Thanks, Helen.
Thank you so much, Dr. Catherine. That was very, very informative. And in the meantime, as I said, I've been collating all the questions in the background. So let's get through these as quickly as possible. Now, this is an interesting question that has come from Mohammed. I have noticed that your program is ACSB accredited. My question is, are there any other accreditations that this MBA will attain in the future?
Well, I mean, we're certainly something that we look at, because obviously, if we're speaking last year, we would still be on hold in terms of the AACSB, but that's something that's come through now. So we're certainly looking at other opportunities, and certainly if you did some programs, there are certain accreditation which are particular to different programs as well. So for example, marketing, for instance, there's some sort of accreditation that will come with that. So it depends on the program that you're looking at as well, in terms of you could get additional accreditation, including the AACSB. Yeah.
Good. And the next question is regarding live sessions. You've mentioned that there are some live sessions. If I cannot attend these live sessions, are they recorded?
Yeah, so all our live sessions are recorded, and that's the benefit of actually being online. Our on-campus students are we've stopped doing some recordings, and but definitely our online students, everything is still very much online and geared towards that. So the live sessions are definitely recorded. Yeah.
Good. And I've got two questions that actually come from Vivian. Right. So it's regarding the graduation. The first question is, do I pay for my graduation? And then the second question is, can I get my degree and transcript before the actual graduation?
So first of all, in terms of the graduation, yeah, so things like for a robe, there will be some administrative costs which are related to graduation. So if you want to graduate in person, that is, then there will be some cost elements that are involved in that in terms of your robes and things like that. But if you are graduating, say in absentia, then there's nothing for you to pay in that sense. So it's mainly if you are going to be in person, and that's just to do with administrative costs associated with that. In terms of your actual certificate, the certificates will be released at a particular time, in time for the graduation. So it's most likely the case that so it wouldn't be the case that it would be before the graduation, because the way it works is it would be released at a particular time, which will be in time for graduation. So it might not necessarily be the case that, so perhaps the graduation could be on a Friday, for instance, but the certificate could be released on a Monday before that. So it would be a set time, and once it's released at that set time, then it can be sent to you, as per those who are in absentia, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. I'd like to also just add on what Dr. Catherine was saying. It's very important to understand that your results have to be vetted by
Yeah.
the exam board, and then thereafter also have to just signed off by Senate. So it's very important that all that processing occurs before a degree can actually be sent out during the graduation ceremony. So it's not a type of program where you will complete an assignment and 2 weeks later you get your degree certificate transcript. It doesn't work.
No, because we have different, and that's why we have a set time where, this is the graduation period and everything will be ready for that period, because all the verification will be done prior to that time. So it's not always the case that you've submitted your final assessments, you've got your results today, for instance, and you'd be able to get your certificate the next week. It would go through a verification process first, and then once that's done and everything's collated, then it will be in time for graduation period and will be sent to you by that time. Yeah.
Yes, excellent. And a question from Ashok, who's based in Qatar. Can I do 1 or 2 modules at the campus? The reason is I do travel there once a year, round about June or July. So can I attend any of these modules on campus?
Right. Unfortunately, the way it works is that because the on-campus structure is different from the MBA online structure. So if you are on the MBA online, it would be the case that it would be strictly online. I mean, if you do travel to the campus and you want to maybe, do your work online or attend a live session online, that kind of thing, then that's possible. But unfortunately, because of the structure of the online teaching is different from the on-campus, it wouldn't be the case that you could do some on-campus and then some online. So it would be strictly 100% online if you opted for the MBA online. Yeah.
And the question comes from Bongani. Do we have draft assignments that we can submit before actually sending our final assignment to the university?
Yeah, so the way it works is that you can send, we have the academic skills team, first of all, who help in terms of providing support for the work that you've done. So they could maybe advise in terms of your writing style and things like that. So they could look into that. But also there is a draft assignment submission box, like that we use Turnitin, which is our assignment submission tool or form, and there is a drafts opportunity which allows you to be able to check things like verify your word count, check your similarity score, and make sure that your work is, set within the requirements and preventing any issues around plagiarism or things like that. So there will be a draft submission which is available before you can then submit the final assessment. Yes.
Excellent. And another question again from Mohammed. If I happen to fail an assignment more than once, which Mohammed, I'm sure you will not. Okay. So his question is, if I happen to fail an assignment more than once, what happens? Do I get kicked off the program?
Right. So like what Helen said, hopefully it wouldn't be the case. But what happens is if you failed an assignment, you would get another chance for you to retake that. And if there was a fail again, it wouldn't be the case that you would be automatically withdrawn from the program. The body of works that you've done will be reviewed, and most likely there will be some sort of support that will be offered to you. You would only be withdrawn from the program if, say, you've signed on and you haven't engaged on the program at all, um, for like a considerable a period of time. But if there is a fail, then there are opportunities to look at that and see how we can provide additional support for you.
Good. And this is an interesting question that has come through from Michael. There are thousands of students who have joined this program from across the globe. So my question is, how do you control the student-tutor ratio?
Right, that's interesting. In terms of controlling, I'm not quite sure. It is quite because the way it works is people join at different points in time. So it wouldn't be the case that 1,000 people joined at one particular period, but also because they are different stages, they're doing different courses and so on. It's done in such a way that at a point in time, you don't have a significant amount of students on one program, and because the way it's split and the courses that you can take at the different times will vary. So it's manageable in that way that at a point in time, a tutor does not have maybe 1,000 students that they have to look over. So that works well for us then in that sense. In terms of monitoring, most modules you find you have your tutor, then you have your module leader as well. So, or in some cases you have two module leaders and then a tutor. And on the programs as well, we have your global online students, your GOSAs as we call them, admin people as well, which provide additional support as well to the tutors if you have any questions. Then you have your student reps as well. So at different points in time, there's several people who are available to be able to provide support, either be the GOSA, the tutor, the module leaders, and the student reps. So there is that opportunity then in terms of different people who can come in and help, that it's not the case that it becomes unmanageable for that one person or tutor. Yeah, so it is it's something that we've always had, and we have several people joining, and we've always been able to keep manage that. So that's one of the great things about the program, I would say as well.
Absolutely. And I always advise applicants, and I think Dr. Catherine will agree with me on this, is always make sure that you keep communication channels open with your tutors and the student support at the university. It is also very important that you do engage. So even though it is an online program and there may be elements of self-study, you do need to keep that communication channel open with the academic panel. Okay, good. And we have a question from Gizek, and I hope I've pronounced your name correctly. But he's from KSA. I am working as a project manager at NEOM in Saudi Arabia, and my hours are at least 10 hours a day of work. So my question is, can I manage this MBA? Or is there a possibility of me taking breaks throughout the program?
Right. Yeah, so there's different opportunity. I would say it's definitely manageable. So you would be advised that throughout the duration is 200 hours of study. So that gives you a rough idea of what you need to put in every week to be able to help you and support you as you go through your studies. But there are different opportunities as well for you to either get some sort of an extension, for instance. So at a basic level, if say you are struggling in terms of work or home commitments, you can get an extension for assignments, for instance. And the extension can range from a week to about, 10 days, and that's maybe the minimum amount of extension you can get at that. But there's also extenuating circumstances where you can, put in more evidence to support why you need additional time for submission, where in that case you could be given an extension for maybe a term, for instance, to complete an assignment. So there is that as well. There's also an opportunity to take some sort of suspension of studies as well, which you can suspend your studies completely for maybe up to 2 semesters, for instance. Again, that's something that will be reviewed on a case by case basis. So it wouldn't be the case where you might say, for example, I just want to suspend that. We would require some sort of letter to say why, and then that will be reviewed. But that's something that is certainly available as well. So there's different opportunities. And then, like I said, you could take one module, and again, that reduces the requirements of you as well. So there's different opportunities for you to, get some sort of breathing space either through that small minimal extension, some sort of extenuating circumstance, which could be linked to work as well, and putting that in, which can give you a term to submit an assignment, or you could suspend the study as well for a whole term. So there's different opportunities. It's just how you use that and, support that with some sort of, evidence to show why you require that. So that's something that a lot of people take advantage of at different stages of the MBA as well. Yeah.
Absolutely. Fantastic. And as Dr. Catherine said, there is a lot of flexibility for you. Always communicate with the student support team and the academic team at the university for that. And the question comes from Miriam. Miriam is located in Kenya. I do not have a degree, but I do have 5 years of management experience. So will I be accepted on this program?
Right. So that would depend really. So I guess it would depend, do you have no degree at all, or is it just based on work experience, for instance? So it would look at maybe prior, like your last formal education, that kind of thing, and then look at your work experience as well. If that's, it would be based on an individual case and what you're showing as to support, your suitability. So that's something that could be looked at depending on, the circumstances. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I do advise that you get in contact with our academic consultants, and we would like to see your CV. And if you do have any other professional qualifications that you may have done throughout your working experience, do submit these as well, because that also does count and maybe support your application as well. So
Yeah.
yes, academic consultant will be able to advise you accordingly. Okay, now we have another question from Bongani. You mentioned that there are assignments in this MBA. Will there ever be a time where this changes to exams while I'm busy studying? I do not like exams. I'm sure there's a lot of
Well,
people.
yes, not a lot of people do. I didn't like exams much either, but you'd be pleased to know that we don't actually have any exams on the MBA program, on any of the um, paths or specialist areas. So, and most of our assignments are some sort of a report or some sort of a case study, and something that really links to what you will be doing in a work context, so it wouldn't be an exam. Something that might be close to an exam is maybe that end of unit test, but again, it's not an exam because it's not time pressured. That's probably anything that closest to that. But it's not an exam. So we don't have any exams. The end of unit test is just like multiple tests, multiple choice answers that you have to go through just to make sure that you've understood the different things that are required within that unit. But you'll be pleased to know there are no exams at all on the MBA. So
Yes, I know. That's why this MBA is so sought after, simply because of examinations. Okay, and a question from Asma. This is actually quite an interesting question. Is there a point during my program where the university may ask me to leave the program with a lesser qualification, for example, a postgraduate certificate or diploma?
Right. So I think this is similar to the previous question earlier. The university would not ask you to leave only if you have not engaged with the program at all. So what I mean by that is maybe you signed on, for example, you have not done any work, submitted any work for, maybe 2 terms or something. Like even if it's 1 term, there's several opportunities where the university will get in touch with you and check on you and say, what's going on? Are you okay? Are you still on this program, for instance? And even when you get some sort of extension or extenuating circumstance, that wouldn't get you a withdrawal. It's completely where you haven't engaged at all, and there will be several opportunities along the way which we will try to get you back to engage and get you more to try and support you where possible. So that's the only circumstances, but the university wouldn't kind of withdraw you just on the basis of that. It will have to be this completely lack of engagement over a considerable amount of time. Yeah.
Correct. Okay, and it's a very popular question, the next one, and I can see quite a few of you have asked a very similar vein. Can I complete the program in 18 months or less? I can see that the program is 21 to 33, but the question is, can it be done in a lesser time period?
I think the minimum time is what we have advised, which is, I believe, that number of months that we've advised. So anything less than that would be squeezing it into a short time, and that would be, so the way it's structured, like I said, would be that we wouldn't encourage or even allow to take more than 2 modules per semester. So based on that, then it's been calculated as that is the minimum time that we'd expect you to complete it. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, minimum time frame, you're looking about 21 months, and in that instance, you would need to make sure that you choose 2 modules per trimester and obviously successfully pass these 2
Past that.
modules.
Yeah.
And so that gives you your 21 months. So it is very, very manageable. Otherwise, yes, you have got the 33 months that you can complete it. Again, the flexibility, because the university does understand that you are working professionals. So it's a perfect time frame for working professionals. Next question, and I see quite a lot of you have asked a similar question, just different countries. The question is, will I get a job in Canada for this degree? And I know some of you have said UK and Singapore, but generally, can I get a job internationally?
I don't see why not. I mean, the MBA is a degree that you would get an MBA, doing an MBA regardless, so because it's online doesn't make it less, credible. It's recognized from, Edinburgh Napier University. So it doesn't matter that it's online. It would be the same certificate, the type of weights that you would get if you did it on campus. So it doesn't matter in terms of that element. So you can use that internationally to support, that you have done an MBA, it just depends on what they are looking at internationally as, a key requirement. But certainly we have students from, on campus who've come from different parts of the world and they've taken their certificates and qualifications back to different parts of the world to get jobs and to support their qualification. So yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Good. And I have one last question from Judith, which I don't mind answering. The question is, can I get credit exemptions because I do have a postgraduate certificate from another university? So yes, Judith, I think as Dr. Catherine had mentioned earlier, the university does look at providing any credits. What we would want at Stafford Global is to actually see some information about the modules that you have completed, so basic module descriptions, learning outcomes. So this can be in a form of a student handbook. And we then submit that to the university. So Dr. Catherine and her academic panel can have a look and see if the modules are similar, if not identical. And based on that, you can actually get a few credits for what you have already studied. If you are going to be looking for credit exemption, I strongly advise that you send your application in as early as possible because that credit exemption review does take some time. Okay. Good. So I have managed to actually group all the questions together. So that
Thanks,
wasn't so
Helen.
bad this time round, Dr. Catherine. And just one last thing is that we are currently open for the May 2024 intake. The program does start on the 27th of May. We are really looking at getting your applications in as soon as possible so that you can get that very, very important unconditional offer. So please do get in touch with us and let's get all your documentation into the university. Thank you again, Dr. Catherine. It was wonderful having you with us this evening. And thank you everyone for joining us and giving us some wonderful questions. Thank you everyone and a good
Thanks,
evening.
everyone. Good evening and hope to see you soon on the program.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Helen. Bye.